Marcus wiped the grease off his hands with an old rag, staring at the broken carburetor on his workbench as the rain tapped steadily on the tin roof of the garage. Bills were stacked high in the drawer he refused to open, and Lily's art school brochures lay folded in his pocket like an impossible dream. He had been juggling late payments, long shifts, and the grief of his wife's passing for too long. When the black car rolled up outside, polished and gleaming against the gray drizzle, Marcus expected another rich customer lost on the way to the city. What he got was Elena Morrison. She stepped out of the car in heels that didn't belong in his dusty shop, her coat draped perfectly, her voice calm and deliberate. "Mr. Hale?" she asked, eyes sharper than her business suit. He nodded warily. She smiled, as if she had been waiting for this moment. Without hesitation, she laid a folder on the counter between them. A legal contract. Marriage. 3 years. $100,000. Marcus laughed bitterly, sure it was a joke. But she didn't flinch. She explained, almost clinically, that she needed a husband of record to unlock her family trust. She assured him there were no strings, no intimacy required, just signatures, appearances, a paper arrangement. He told her she had the wrong man. He was a grease-stained mechanic, not a trophy spouse. But when she mentioned the money again, his chest tightened. $100,000 meant Lily's art school tuition. It meant paying off the hospital bills that haunted him. It meant a future he couldn't otherwise give his daughter. He tried to dismiss her, but that night, sitting at the kitchen table with Lily sketching quietly beside him, he saw her hopeful eyes when she asked if she could really apply to the academy in New York. He knew what he had to do. The next morning, he signed. His hand shook over the papers, and Elena watched him with that same unreadable expression, like she already knew he'd agree. She thanked him politely, almost coldly, but something flickered in her gaze, a warmth too careful to be accidental. He ignored it, convincing himself it was just relief on her part. A deal was a deal. The arrangement began awkwardly. Elena moved into his modest home on the edge of town, where nothing matched and everything smelled faintly of motor oil. She adjusted quickly, far too quickly. She knew where the sugar was kept, how strong he liked his coffee, even the brand of steak sauce he always bought. At first Marcus assumed she had simply observed him closely during their first meetings, but the details were too sharp, too intimate. Lily, meanwhile, warmed to her immediately. Marcus had worried his daughter would resent the sudden marriage, but instead she seemed drawn to Elena's calm presence. They spent afternoons talking about Lily's paintings, Elena pointing out brushstrokes and colors with surprising insight. One evening, Lily shyly admitted that Elena had complimented her sketch in a way no one else had before, noticing the shading in the corner that even Marcus had overlooked. Marcus frowned. How could Elena know so much about art when her world was corporate boardrooms and billion-dollar deals? Days turned into weeks, and the unease grew. Marcus tried to bury his doubts under work, but little moments unsettled him. Elena humming the lullaby his late wife used to sing. Elena handing him his coffee exactly the way he preferred without ever being told. Elena buying Lily a set of paintbrushes that matched the exact brand Lily had whispered she wanted months ago. Marcus had never spoken those details aloud. One night, searching for a wrench in the mudroom, he accidentally knocked over Elena's leather bag. A small album tumbled out. He picked it up, curious, and froze. Photographs. His garage. Him working under a car, sweat streaking his shirt. Lily sitting on the porch, sketchbook in her lap. The dates were months before Elena had ever walked into their lives. His chest constricted as he flipped through the pages, each photo sharper than the last, like a documentary of their quiet existence. He heard the floor creak behind him. Elena stood there, her face unreadable, her eyes shadowed by something almost vulnerable. Marcus held up the album, anger and confusion warring inside him. "You've been watching us," he said, his voice low. For the first time since he met her, Elena didn't have an immediate answer. She just looked at him, and in her silence, Marcus realized this contract was far from the clean business arrangement she had promised. It was something else entirely, something he couldn't yet name but already feared. Marcus didn't sleep that night. The photographs burned into his mind, every image proof that Elena's arrival hadn't been coincidence. He sat at the kitchen table until dawn, staring at the album, wondering if he had been a fool from the very beginning. When Elena finally came downstairs, her hair loose, her expression composed, he shoved the album toward her. "Explain," he demanded. She paused, her hands tightening on the chair back, then said it was research, market research, background checks, standard procedure before approaching him with the contract. Her voice was calm, but her eyes flickered, and Marcus felt the floor tilt beneath him. He wanted to believe her. He needed to, for Lily's sake, for the stability of this bizarre arrangement. But doubt hung heavy in his chest. He watched her interact with his daughter, watched Lily laugh when Elena praised her paintings, watched the trust forming between them. A voice in his head whispered that if Elena could learn every detail about him, she could also be learning how to weave herself into his daughter's fragile heart. Still, as days stretched on, Marcus couldn't deny the connection forming. Elena wasn't just polite, she was thoughtful in ways that chipped at his walls. She remembered Lily's school deadlines, helped her blend new shades on canvas, even cooked dinner once, though she admitted she hadn't touched a stove in years. Marcus found himself softening, confused by how natural it felt to share space with her. But every time he looked at the photo album hidden in his drawer, suspicion returned like a thorn in his skin. One evening, while fixing a car late at the shop, Marcus overheard her on the phone. Her voice was low but clear. It was never about the trust fund, she whispered. It was about them, about him, about her. The words pierced him. He stepped back before she could notice him listening, but they echoed all night, filling his head with questions he wasn't ready to face. The unraveling came faster than he expected. A week later, a news outlet published a story about Elena Morrison's fake marriage. The article included photos, his garage, their family dinners, even one of Lily holding Elena's hand. It was all there, twisted into a scandal. Marcus realized the album hadn't just been research, it was evidence. Proof she had been following them long before their deal. Fury crashed through him. He confronted her, his voice raw. "You lied to me. You lied to my daughter." Elena's composure broke for the first time. She admitted everything. She had found his garage months before, stopped in her car just to watch him and Lily. She had been captivated, not by business, but by the life she never had. The contract had been her way to step into it, to hold on to something she thought she didn't deserve. Marcus felt sick. Love, family, marriage, all of it, tainted by manipulation. "You used us," he spat, his fists clenched. Elena's tears fell silently, but her words tumbled out fast, desperate. She insisted she loved Lily's art, loved the quiet strength Marcus carried, loved the way their home, however small, felt real in a world where everything for her was staged. But Marcus couldn't hear her through the roar in his ears. All he could see was betrayal, his daughter's trust dangling by a thread. The media storm grew worse, reporters camping outside the garage, neighbors whispering. Marcus shielded Lily as best he could, but the damage was done. He tore up the contract and told Elena to leave. "Whatever this was, it's over," he said, his voice flat. Elena begged for a chance, swore she never meant to hurt them, but Marcus turned away, his heart hardened against the woman who had slipped past his defenses only to break them. When she finally left, the house felt emptier than ever. Lily asked where Elena had gone, her eyes wet and confused, but Marcus had no answer that wouldn't shatter his daughter's fragile hope. Alone in the silence, he wondered if he had protected Lily, or if he had just destroyed the only chance they had at being whole again. Marcus buried himself in work after Elena left, though the garage no longer felt the same. Customers came and went, reporters eventually grew bored, but the silence in the house was unbearable. Lily painted less and spoke even less, her sketches piling up unfinished on the table. When Marcus asked if she was all right, she only whispered, "I miss her," before disappearing into her room. He didn't know how to respond. He had wanted to protect his daughter from betrayal, yet in doing so he had torn away the person Lily had begun to see as family. Elena, meanwhile, stayed out of sight, though Marcus sometimes caught news clips of her, stiff and professional in front of cameras, refusing to answer questions about the scandal. He turned off the TV each time, telling himself he was done with her. But at night, lying awake, he thought about her laughter echoing in the kitchen, the way she leaned over Lily's drawings with genuine fascination, the way she had whispered into the phone that it was about them. If everything had been a manipulation, Why did the memory still feel so real? A storm rolled in one late evening, wind rattling the windows and thunder shaking the roof. Marcus was closing the garage when headlights appeared through the rain. Elena's car sputtered to a stop in front, steam rising from under the hood. For a moment, he thought about locking the doors and pretending he hadn't seen her. But when she stepped out, soaked and shivering, all the anger in him tangled with something else he didn't want to name. "The radiator's blown," she said quietly, her voice hoarse. He didn't answer, just grabbed his tools and fixed it in silence. She watched him the whole time, rain dripping from her hair, until finally she whispered, "I never stopped caring." Not for a second. He tightened the last bolt and walked away without a word. That night, Lily fell ill. Feverish and weak, she collapsed in the hallway, and Marcus rushed her to the hospital. As he signed forms at the desk, Elena appeared, breathless, her coat still wet from the storm. He opened his mouth to demand why she was there, but Lily stirred weakly and reached for her. "Stay," she whispered, clutching Elena's hand. And Elena did, refusing to leave her side, reading softly to her, wiping her forehead, caring in a way that went far beyond obligation. Marcus stood in the doorway, watching. This wasn't a CEO or a manipulator. This was a woman who had lost something in her own life and found it, however imperfectly, with them. He thought of the photos again. Not just surveillance, but attempts to hold on to fleeting moments she had no right to yet. Desperately wanted, he finally understood that her deception had come from longing, not malice. When Lily finally slept, Marcus and Elena stepped into the hall. The storm still howled outside, but the silence between them was heavier. "You lied to me," Marcus said, his voice rough. "You built this on a contract and secrets." Elena nodded, tears slipping down her cheeks. "I did, and it was wrong. I was terrified you'd never let me in if you knew how much I wanted it. But the truth is, Marcus, the trust fund doesn't matter. The contract doesn't matter. All I wanted was you. And her. A family. Even if I didn't deserve it." Marcus looked at her, searching for the cold strategist he had once accused her of being, but she was gone. All that remained was a woman stripped of her armor, trembling in fear of losing what she loved. He realized then that he wasn't just angry because she had lied, he was angry because she had reached a part of his heart he thought was buried with his wife. Slowly, he stepped closer, his hand brushing hers. "Then no more contracts," he said quietly. "If you're in this, it's real. No conditions, no paper." Elena's breath caught, her tears spilling freely as she nodded. "Real," she whispered, "always real." When Lily woke the next morning, she found them both sitting beside her bed, hands intertwined. She smiled weakly, whispering a single word that sealed it all, "Mom." Elena broke down, pressing her forehead to Lily's, while Marcus wrapped them both in his arms. The storm outside finally eased, the clouds breaking into pale morning light. What had begun as a bargain ended as something neither of them had expected. Not a transaction, not a deception, but the messy, fragile, undeniable shape of a family.